Friends, welcome to Dennis Simplifies. In this video, we are going to be converting a number in base 10 to a different base in C++. As usual, the algorithm first and then the code. So, let's simplify. Given that A modulus B will give the remainder when A is divided by B, write a detailed computer solution that can be used to convert a number in base 10 to a different base. The inputs to your computer solution should be a number in base 10 and a base the number is to be converted to. So the algorithm, you're going to ask the user to input the number in base 10. So you say input number. Now you're going to store a copy of the number in a new variable called new number. So you say new number equals number. Then we ask the user to input the base we are to convert the number into. So you say input base. Now we create an array of 100 containers. It can be more, but we want 100. Now we say I equals 0. Now, when you are converting a number in base 10 to a different base manually, you will create a table. Then on the table, the first column is going to be the base. The second column is going to be the number itself. And the last column or the third column is going to be the remainder column. Now, you are going to be dividing the number by the base. And anytime you divide the number by the base, you write the remainder. Now you keep dividing the number by the base and you keep writing the remainder until you divide and the number becomes 0. Now the number becomes 0, you write your answer from the remainder column and then you write it from the bottom to the top as the number in the base. So you write the remainder as your answer, but you start writing the remainder from the bottom of the column to the top of it. Now we said that you kept dividing until the number became 0. And as you were doing it, you also getting your remainder. So we say while the number is not 0. So we are in a while loop. While the number is not 0, find the remainder of the number when the base goes into it. Then store that remainder in the array. Remember we said I equals 0. So start storing the remainder in the first container in the array. That is when I equals 0. Now, after storing the remainder in the first container in the array, divide the number by the base. Now, when you divide the number by the base, move to the next container, that is I++. When you move to the next container, n while, then check if the number is 0 or not. If it is not 0, find the remainder again. Then store that remainder in the second container. Then divide the number by the base. Then move to the third container. Then check if the number is 0 or not. Store the remainder when the base goes into that number. Store it in the fourth container. Then divide the number by the base. Then move to the fifth container. Then look for the remainder. Check whether the number is 0 or not. Look for the remainder when the base goes into the number. Then store that remainder in the sixth container. Now divide the number by the base. Then move to the seventh container. So you keep doing this, storing the remainders in the containers until the number becomes 0. Now when the number becomes 0, you move outside this while loop. Then you print or you display your result that the new number. Remember we said new number here. Now you see the reason why we have new number. The reason why we have the new number is that after this while loop, when this while loop ends, the number itself is going to be 0. That is why we stored a copy of the number in new number. So you say the new number in base is. Now remember, when you have the tabular form, how you write your answer? You write the answer from the remainder column from the bottom to the top. So in this array, we are going to start from the last container to the first container. So we are going to take the remainder in the last container, write it. Take the remainder in the previous container, write it, and then we keep writing it until we get to the first container. So we say for j equals I minus 1 to j equals 0, step -1. Now the last container is not I but I minus 1 because before this while loop ended, we increased I by 1. Before the while loop ended, we increased it by 1, meaning the containers with the remainders will be 1 more than the actual number of containers with remainders. That is why we are taking 1 from the number of containers, before we come here and then we say print array j. Now this array j, we are starting from the last container, which is I minus 1. Then anytime we print the remainder in that array, in that container, we end 4 and then we go back. Now move back again. Step -1, print the remainder in that container, then N4, then move back. So keep moving back until j becomes 0. That is until j becomes the first container. So you are starting from the last container to the last container. That's why you are stepping -1. Alright friends, I hope you've learned something about the tabular form. This whole algorithm is based on the tabular form of converting a number in base 10 to a different base. So if you haven't learned it yet, I recommend you visit it or you revisit it and then you go through it. Now let's convert our algorithm to C++ code. So I declared my integers and set I and then array. I gave them values to be 0 and then 100 respectively. Then I take the number and then the base from the user, and then I set the number. I copy a number. I copied the number into a new variable called new number. Then I set the while loop, which is going to take all the remainders and store them in the array we called. Then from there, I print out my results. And then the sequence at which I'm going to print my results is also very important. I'm going to start from the last container to the first container. Then I end my code with system pause and then return 0. So now let's do some conversions of the bases and see how it works. So I enter 2, 3, 4 in base 10. I want to convert this to base 3. And it says the number 2, 3, 4 in base 3 is 22200. Let's try another one. I want to convert 53 in base 10 to base 2. Now it says the number 53 in base 2 is 110101, which are all correct. So our code is running properly. Alright friends, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video. Till then, part yeah.